Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. In this video, I'm going to introduce to you the policies and laws that governs the management of wildlife species in Malaysia. The policies and laws consist of the regulation, protection, conservation, and also the management of wildlife in Malaysia. The Constitution of Malaysia empowers those at the federal and the states level to make laws regarding wildlife resources. As such, 11 states in Peninsular Malaysia are managed under different acts from Sabah and Sarawak. IUCN, or the International Union for Conservation and Nature, is an international organization dedicated to natural resources conservation. The IUCN brings together approximately 83 states, 108 government agencies, 766 non-governmental organizations, and 81 international organizations, and about 10,000 experts and scientists from countries around the world to harness the knowledge and resources in their effort to conserve flora and fauna. IUCN's mission is to influence, encourage, and assist societies throughout the world to conserve the integrity and diversity of nature and to ensure that any use of the natural resources is equitable and ecologically sustainable. IUCN is the world's main authority on the conservation status of species. The IUCN Red List of Threatened Species, or also known as IUCN Red List or Red Data List, created in 1963. It is the world's most comprehensive inventory of the global conservation status of plant and animal species. The list is set upon precise criteria to evaluate the extinction risk of thousands of species and subspecies. In this list, species are classified into 9 groups set through criteria such as rate of decline, population size, area of geographic distribution, and degree of population and distribution fragmentation. The 9 categories are extinct, extinct in the wild, critically endangered, endangered, vulnerable, near threatened, least concern, data deficient, and not evaluated. These criteria are relevant to all species and all regions of the world. The aim is to convey the urgency of conservation issues to the public and policymakers, as well as to help the international community to try to reduce species extinction. The list is widely considered to be the most objective and authority system for classifying species in terms of the risk of extinction. CITES, or the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Flora and Fauna, is an international agreement between governments. CITES' aim is to ensure that international trade in specimens of wild animals and plants does not threaten their survival. Malaysia is the 38th country that have agreed to be bound by the convention in 1977. Roughly 5,600 species of animals and 30,000 species of plants are protected by CITES against overexploitation through international trade. These species are grouped into appendices 1, 2, 3 according to how threatened they are and by international trade and the measures that apply to their trade. There are about 800 species listed in Appendix 1. They are threatened with extinction and may be affected by the trade. The trade in wild-caught specimens of these species is therefore illegal, permitted only in exceptional license circumstances. In Appendix 2, about 32,500 species listed in this category, they are not necessarily threatened with extinction, but may become so unless the trade in specimens of such species is subjected to strict regulation in order to avoid utilization which is incompatible with their survival. The international trade, therefore, may be authorized by the granting of an export permit or re-export certificate. In Appendix 3, about 170 species listed in this category that are listed after one member country has asked other CITES parties for assistance in controlling trade in a species. The species are not necessarily threatened with extinction globally. In all member countries, trade in this species is only permitted with an appropriate export permit and a certificate of origin. Other than IUCN and CITES, Malaysia also abides to other policies and conventions related to conservation and management of wildlife, such as World Heritage, Convention of Biological Diversity or CBD, Ramsar Convention, the Convention on the Migratory Species or CMS, and others. So, who manage wildlife in Malaysia and how they do it? A Wildlife Commission of Malaya was established by the British colonists in 1932 to make full inquiry into existing regulations for protection of wildlife, ways to deal with wildlife damage to agriculture, and the organization needed to administer the preservation of wildlife. The Commission provided the framework for the consolidation of the state game offices and establishment of the Wildlife Ordinance 1955 in Malayan states. Later, the 1955 Ordinance was repealed with the enactment of the Wildlife Protection Act 1972 by the Malaysia Parliament. In 1980, National Parks Act was established to govern the creation and the maintenance of national parks in Malaysia as one of the measures to protect the habitats for wildlife. In 1992, Malaysia, together with 149 other countries in the world, ratified the Convention on Biological Diversity, indicating our dedication in promoting sustainable development. The Convention recognizes that biological diversity is about more than plants, animals, and microorganisms and their ecosystems. It is about people and our need for food security, medicines, fresh air and water, shelter, and a clean and healthy environment in which to live. In relation to the conservation of wildlife, the Wildlife Conservation Act 2010 was established to replace the Protection of Wildlife Act 1972. There are 3 different government agencies which was given the mandate to protect and manage our wildlife under different acts. The agencies are the Department of Wildlife and National Parks, the Sabah Wildlife Department, and the Sarawak Forestry. The Department of Wildlife and National Parks Peninsular Malaysia, or DWNP, or Perhilitan, was formerly known as the Game Department. The department was established in order to create a central agency to coordinate wildlife and habitat conservation activities in Peninsular Malaysia in the year 1930. The DWNP enforces the Wildlife Conservation Act, the Taman Negara Enactments of Kelantan, Pahang and Terengganu states, and the National Park Act 1980. Sabah Wildlife Department is the agency that enforces the Wildlife Conservation Enactment 1997 for the proper regulation, utilization, protection, conservation, and management of wildlife, caves, and wildlife areas in Sabah. In Sarawak, the Sarawak Forestry enforces Sarawak Forestry Corporation Ordinance 1995, Forest Ordinance 1958, National Parks and Nature Reserves Ordinance 1998 and Wildlife Protection Ordinance 1998. These three agencies are responsible to protect and manage the wildlife in Malaysia for in situ and ex situ conservation activities. In situ conservation, management is conducted in the natural area without removing any materials from their original site or location. The examples of in situ conservation sites are national and state parks, wildlife reserves and sanctuary, Ramsar sites, and others. The objectives of establishing these sites are to preserve the species, natural habitats or ecosystem, to preserve the gene pool, to protect the endangered species, to preserve many species as possible, and others. In ex situ conservation, management effort is conducted outside of the natural environment or ecosystem. For examples, the wildlife are kept in zoos, wildlife breeding centers, or rehabilitation centers, in animal farms, research field stations, and others. This conservation activity is conducted to propagate the endangered species, for economic and commercial values, for research and education, reintroduction program, and etc. I guess that's all from me. I hope you understand now that the policies and management of wildlife in Peninsular Malaysia is different than that in Sabah and Sarawak. However, the purpose of establishing the laws and conservation activities are the same, which is to protect and to conserve the wildlife. Have a good day, everyone.